everybody.
Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
What a piece of junk. What are you talking about?
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. Don't get technical with me.
This bickering is pointless.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
How could you even say that?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, come on. Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Would you get going, you pirate?
Get in there, you big furry oaf! I don't care what you smell!
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust.
I like the sound of that.
Get a shuttle ready.
I don't know. Fly casual.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Transmission commencing.
Hey everybody, thanks again for tuning in to another exciting edition of the Shuttle Tydirium podcast. We are the mothership of Casual X-Wing. I am your host, Jim Chadwick, also known as Hey Chadwick on the forums. And I have, sitting next to me, my co-pilot, Phil Mead. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing great. However, there has been an outbreak of Ewok rabies on Endor. I'll go ahead and confirm that now. I know many of you have heard rumors. From what I understand, it's not transmissible to humans and other sentients, but you do want to be careful after you land on Endor. If a Ewok is frothing at the mouth and is acting very aggressive, I know they normally act aggressive, but especially aggressive, give it a wide berth and call Ewok Control Services.
So that's just hit the on your control panel on your seat, the one that looks like J-Bot.
That's right.
And speaking of animal control and human resources, we have our cranky protocol droid, J-Bot. How you doing, J-Bot?
Not too bad. I just want to tell everybody you don't have to fear any of the Ewoks on our ship having rabies. I've taken care of that ahead of time, but if you do see any of them wandering around with, white foam on their mouths, don't worry about it. They just found my supply of canned whipped cream, and they've been going to town on it. So I'm going to take care of that before this is all over with. But they're not rabies. It's just whipped cream. They're having a little fun with that.
Yeah, I do hope that Emperor Palpatine gets the travel ban in place for the Ewoks. That would be pretty good. But speaking of other fellow Palpatine supporters, we do have our chief engineer here on the ship. So Biff, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here again. A little freaked out with the concerns and the bulletins going on about the Ewok rabies infestation. So I've been keeping a wide berth myself.
I did hear on the HoloNet some report of people just going ballistic, that they found a giant Ewok and they tried to contain it and it went ballistic and wasn't frothing at the mouth, but it turned out to be just a Wookiee. So be careful.
Easily
don't listen to fake news.
Yeah. To some people, they all look the same, really. All aliens, all furry aliens. It's really,
striking.
Yeah,
striking similarities.
Just being ignorant, really.
That's right. There's just a really tall Ewok is all that is.
Right. Right. And there have been some reports of pets being destroyed. So some lapdogs and squirrel populations being destroyed.
The Shih Tzus, those are just baby Ewoks, right?
Right. So just be careful for your pets and loved ones out there.
Don't want them to turn into bait, right?
That's right. That's right. Don't end up as a news story in the HoloNet. Cool. Well, let's see. We've got a lot to talk about. Stuff that I'm actually pretty excited about. We have got a new news item to talk about. Of course, by the time this episode actually, hits the airwaves, it won't be so new. But independent operations. So with a quote at the beginning of the news article from Lando Calrissian, you see, since we're a small operation, we don't fall into the jurisdiction of the Empire. So that's the quote. We've got 3 new ships. Wave 11 announced. So, all right. Who's excited about this wave?
It's pretty good. I'm kind of liking it. There's good stuff to it.
But before we get into that, how about we do the captain's question?
Yeah. He had to be poked.
Yeah. So
he's so excited he forgot all of his official piloting duties and just ran straight.
I did go on the checklist and I wanted to jump the gun and talk about this stuff. So, all right, captain's question. So since we were talking about, we had some fans communicate with us about the Jango Fett discussion. So apparently Jango Fett, how in what is it, the Blu-ray outtake Double Dragon edition of that episode, episode 2, where Jango gets killed, that apparently they've had it when he was stompled by the big creature whose name I can't remember. His jetpack got damaged, and then before Mace Windu came in and chopped his head off, he tried to jetpack out, but his jetpack went, and fizzled. And apparently they added that in after the fact. And so we were talking about the idea of adding things in and whatnot. And my captain's question is inspired by that. So if you were George Lucas and basically you had to change something in one of the movies, let's just say we'll go with Biff's theory that basically you have to change something when you come out with a new edition for a new format, because otherwise no one would buy it. When I say Star Wars fans will buy it no matter what format you put it in. You can make it a 16-bit version of Star Wars and leave it the same. People will buy it.
Yeah.
But if you were George Lucas and you had to change something for a new edition, and of any of the movies, what would you change? So, who wants to go first? Biff.
Traditional. I love. You still ask every time.
Yeah. So you're the captain. You should just be pointing. You first.
Yes. I asked for volunteers, and then you're voluntold if you don't volunteer. So, so Biff.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to pick on a bit that I would like to edit in A New Hope, so episode 4, and maybe I'm not exactly approaching this the right way from a change that I want to make to try to get people to go to the movie. It's more of that creative, I'm going to go back and modify something that kind of like you wish you could have done better, or you just didn't like the way that it all played out. And it's kind of a nit to me. It left an unanswered question that somebody like me that's analytical, looks at the details, will get tripped over. So episode 4, one of the final scenes, you've got all of the ships that are flying away from the destroyed Death Star, and you can account for the Falcon, you can account for Wedge, you can account for Luke, but then lo and behold, there's this Y-Wing that's flying away from the Death Star. And it has always kind of bothered me. Who is that guy? What? Because pretty much the Y-Wings get absolutely shredded going down the trench.
Right.
And as you learn a little bit more through like expanded universe and so forth, you find out that the Y-Wings were really kind of like at their end of life service-wise. They weren't really going to get in there and mix it up with the TIE fighters. So I'm really totally now sucked in as to who's this awesome pilot and what were they able to do to get away from the Death Star. I mean, or what were they doing exactly? So I would want to go back and actually edit that Y-Wing out to completely avoid that question and just leave it as the Falcon, Luke, and Wedge escaping that Death Star run.
So wait, instead of actually maybe adding a new character or putting and tying it to somebody else is really cool. You know, like maybe Nora Wexley, who ended up flew a Y-Wing into the Death Star 2, you would just edit it out and remove it completely.
Yeah, I think that would just be easier because, I mean, to try to go the other way and make a character and insert that character into the film, I mean,
tough.
it would be cool, but I think that might create more problems than just simply than just simply obliterating that Y-wing.
Distracting like escape pods.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they have this unused footage of pilots in their X-wings. They have that CG face technology. I think they should just go back and replace a couple of the use some lost footage to add in a scene of like a Gungan pilot or something, and he's in his Y-wing. He's like, whoa. Means to do barrel roll, and he's just like Darth Vader's trying to shoot him down. Whoa. This is strong with this one.
I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm there in the movie right now.
Yeah, that's.
Oh God! Now ruin it.
But it feels like something that could be done. That's the beauty of it.
All right.
It needs to be a common thread. We have to link the prequels to the old original somehow, right?
I want to.
That's right.
That disturbs me so much. I want to move past Biff now in the discussion and go to you, Phil.
Right.
Yeah, there was a reason why I didn't go first. Didn't volunteer. There was a reason.
Make it stop. Make it stop.
All right. So I've got a couple ideas here. I think the going from least serious to most serious. First one is, you remember that scene in Episode 3 where Anakin and Padme are like in their apartment and they're talking about how much they love each other. There's a lot of like pregnant belly touching going on, and long sentences like, "I love you so much it hurts my heart." You're
Well,
I love you more. I love you so much it hurts my heart.
That conversation, that dialogue was just so dreamy. It's embedded in my soul, really.
A lot of really memorable lines there. I'm sure you all remember this scene very well. Could quote it all. I would just remove all dialogue from that scene. No words spoken. Only you can leave the pregnant belly touching in. Some like.
You could actually probably
the furtive glances, all
the glances. You just use alternate camera angles, CG their mouths shut if you have to.
I bet that would improve the entire love story if you did that to pretty much like almost anything romantic.
Lose nothing and gain a lot. Anyway.
Well, maybe they'll just go back and eventually just CG out Anakin with a Gungan too, and then we can all celebrate.
Celebrate like a parade at the end of Episode 1.
A couple other suggestions are in Return of the Jedi, more Ewoks dying. Not enough Ewoks died. CG and a couple of Ewoks just being beaten to death by a stormtrooper.
I'm on board with this plan.
Like an Ewok, with a spear, like tries to go up and stab a stormtrooper. Stormtrooper just grabs a spear and like kicks the Ewok in the chest or something and then blasts it. Just like one or two scenes like that would have added a lot. I guess maybe they didn't want to kick kids in the chest because there were kids in those suits, but
I could just see that. Like we've taken it from the fun, happy movie to like Apocalypse Now with like the grittiness of it.
Yeah,
this is the Phil cut of Return.
I'd love to see like a squad of stormtroopers like flank one of their little, little
like
stormtrooper or little Ewoks had like some sort of contraption or throwing rocks and just go
catapult,
just like gun them down.
Right.
I think that would help really make it more accurate.
Yeah. And my last one is animate the Mon Calamari faces in the background in Episode 6 tastefully.
Tastefully.
Yes. So like maybe because all those there was only like. I think Admiral Akbar's face was the only one that was fully like animatronically controlled, and like a lot of the other ones just like sitting there with their mouths open and eyes like wide open the whole time. I think
that goldfish stare.
Yeah.
And they look so confused. That was the part that
Yeah.
always kind of threw me off. Was like, hey, you're going into a battle. You guys should kind of expect things to change. Why are you acting all confused? Like, what do you mean it's a trap? What? How can that possibly be?
Well, maybe it's the lack of water that just kind of distorts their vision, so that they have a hard time. Actually, they're slow to process what they see because they're used to seeing it through a lot of water.
So, I thought you were going with like oxygen deprivation or something because of the
No,
but
they're just slow reaction time.
All right. Okay. Yep. Okay.
All right. So, Phil, was that all yours?
Yeah, that's all mine. I'm done.
All right. I like the romance one. That's probably my favorite so far. Make it so.
Yeah.
CG their mouths shut.
Shut. That's all that matters.
All right. So, J-Bot, I'm kind of interested to see what yours would be.
Oh, mine are actually fairly simple and fairly straightforward. For the J-Bot re-release, I'd only have 2 changes that I can think of off the top of my head. One of them is one that is probably a sore spot with the fandom, and I don't look at the background as much as everybody else does. I would give Chewbacca a medal during the ceremony. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure this is a sore spot with most of the community. To me, it always seemed like that seems a little strange. Maybe he's just too
racist.
tall, right? It's like maybe he's just a little too tall to get the medal, and so they had to edit it out because it was would have been too much comedy, having him bend all the way down to get it. But the other one
was already on the lower step. I mean, it should have been pretty easy, right?
Well, you'd think so, but hey.
Yeah, what's up?
The other one is the other one would be somewhat of a major change, and it would be.
Wait. Before we go into that, maybe they actually had subtitles where at the end, where everyone gets the medal and they turn and everybody cheers and Chewbacca goes "Roar!" Maybe they just forgot the subtitles to say, "Where's my damn medal?"
That's right. Well,
We're all racist.
That's why he's yelling.
That's right. I went and looked it up, and apparently they've kind of, with Legends material, written in that, he did get one, just wasn't given at the ceremany. But isn't that even bigger slap in the face? It's like, oh crap, we forgot about him. Somebody make one up really fast and give him one as well.
Good enough to get recognized with everybody else, but we'll quietly give one a side.
He's just a sidekick, so he's not important. Like that's like the way he took it. So the other one is somewhat major, and it could still end the same way, but I would not have Boba Fett, defeated the same way. If you look through all the movies, he's basically nothing. Like, he's been given this kind of, he's this great hunter, he's this great XYZ. But if you look through the movies, he's never really done anything major. He was tricky enough to hide and actually follow them, but overall, you never see him actually fighting as kind of a badass sort of deal. And I think the way he's kind of just nonchalantly knocked off into the Sarlacc pit is very very sad for a character that ultimately so many people love. So
true. He kind of went out like a punk.
Right. Yeah. Very much like his father in a lot of ways. So since they're going to, go in and make some little subtle changes to make Django not die as horribly, pathetically as they did, which it still would. Sorry, Blu-ray people. But I would not have like that sort of thing. I could see like, him spinning and knocking his gun out of the way and having, other people like shoulder him off the thing, but having him spin and no, he broke his jetpack and it fires him off into like no. So I don't know how I would rewrite it. I'd have to go back and look at the whole scene, but I was never a huge fan of that scene anyway. The whole thing just felt like we've sprung this trap and failed miserably, and yet somehow the trap still works because magic. That's that whole sort of set of scenes always bothered me so much.
So now that we talk about this, it is a jetpack malfunction that takes out father and son.
Yeah.
One fails hot, the other fails cold. Yep.
Yeah. Poetry. It all rhymes.
Oh, is that? Oh, yeah. I didn't realize they thought so far ahead with this. God, Lucas, he's a visionary.
Yeah. That's right.
We're being rough on it.
Yeah. So you'd have them die slightly different.
Well, no. So I guess I'd have to look at the whole scene because, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of. I'm okay with them going into Jabba's little palace and stuff, It's just that scene on his little barge that has always bugged the crap out of me. The whole thing is just, I don't even know how to describe it. It just makes no sense to me as a kind of a conglomeration of stuff. It's like, okay, we've got them into this really bad situation. Man, we got to get them out of this. So let's just do a series of comedic things that has just happened.
You've never played in a role-playing group where the party cooked up some crazy scheme like that before?
Sure? We haven't we haven't gotten quite that elaborate.
No. So what this boils down to is, if you want to look at this as a role-playing perspective, and I know we're having fun with ours, it's, oh crap, all of them screwed up. I'm the GM. I could either TPK the party and just kill them all now, and sorry guys, you need to rewrite your fancy Jedi guy, your fancy smuggler character, you need to make a new one, that sort of thing.
New princess.
Or I could just say, make the sound of rolling dice and just have everything go somehow perfectly. But, using the Age of Rebellion thing, they used a heck of a lot of destiny points in that series of events. Like, just the pure dumb luck is almost Biff's character level in this game, or in the movies. So.
Well, all right. All right, I'll go with my. I'll accept yours, and I'll go with my minor change to the movies. I'd go to, I guess, start with episode 1. The first thing would be, I was first starting to think, well, just get rid of all Gungans as a minor change, but really it's just Jar Jar Binks to completely eliminate him for the movie. But I'll step back and I'll actually go with the fan web theory that Jar Jar Binks actually is the Dark Sith Lord.
Oh,
yes, I'd love that as a fan. I think that would be awesome.
He's really Snoke, and so through the years, he wanted to, much like Michael Jackson, he wanted surgery to be more and more human-like. But things went horribly wrong, and while his years were changed and a lot of others, you got facially scarred as it fell apart in his later years. And so here we are with Snoke really being Jar Jar Binks.
That's a bit more of a stretch than I was expecting.
So I think having him as a Dark Lord of the Sith, but then some also tie it all in, the first trilogy prequels with the last 3, kind of just really make it a cyclical thing. That's what I would do.
That's a lot of speech therapy.
Well, he had a lot of years to do it. I mean, we're talking, 50, 60 years for Gungan to surgery and everything to really just...
That is quite a bit of speech therapy, but maybe he never really did talk that way, and it was all an act in the earlier movies.
Yes.
I didn't think about that.
Remember, he was kicked out by the other Gungans. He was too different. And it was really his talking like a human. It was too bombad for everybody.
So they knew something that we didn't. And
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And he played up the bumbling. But I think it was like every time he does something bumbling, it comes out in his favor still, and he just looks bad doing it and kind of
forced. The theory videos are actually very funny when you go look at them. You're like, hey, wait a minute. He does always do these things. Oh, he's always moving his mouth in the background while some other character is talking, like stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'd just go that minor change.
Wow.
A little tweak. Slight little tweak, make it a little better.
Tasteful.
I'm not going to be able to watch episode 1 the same anymore.
You mean you would watch it again? All right. Cool. So that was our captain's question, and I'm trying to recall who sent that to us.
I think I came up with that one after we.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah. You. All right. So now we can move on to independent operations. You see, since we're a small operation, we don't fall into the jurisdiction of the Empire. All right. So everybody's excited about this? I really do like this wave. And there are some people who are just like, I have no interest in this. And I felt that way at previous past waves, but this one's really excited me. I like it. Anybody feel so blah, whatever?
I'm not interested so much thematically with this wave. Like, none of these are my favorite, Star Wars universe fighter that I've been waiting for,
Well, at this point, you're either waiting for the,
yeah,
assault gunboat, or they've already put it out.
Yeah. You can't say that you can't please me until they've put the assault gunboat out there, and then after that, I'll absolve them of that responsibility.
All right.
Then he'll never be satisfied again because his dream has come true.
I won't be expecting to be satisfied.
Yeah,
it's a sad situation.
So thematically, did 2 of these come from the Clone Wars TV series?
I think just the Ozatuk did.
I don't know about the H6, to be honest. My TV broke, and I have like 5 episodes, maybe 6 now after yesterday, on DVR that I can't watch until my TV gets repaired, and that's a whole drama into itself, which is not as entertaining. But don't say anything on Clone Wars. Unless you can tell me if it actually is in there. But
no, the only one that I was kind of thinking pretty positive from Clone Wars was the Wookiee ship. But the H6, it looks too much like the Shadowcaster, and so it shakes my confidence if it's in which didn't show up in the Clone Wars, but sometimes I get Clone Wars and Rebels mixed up. So
I should say Rebels. Yeah, I don't think it was in the Clone Wars at all.
Yeah, okay. I don't think it was in a TV show yet.
Okay.
I'm looking it up now. It says Star Wars Rebels Spark of Rebellion is the first appearance.
Well, that's like the opening.
Maybe it's in the background somewhere.
That if it is one of these newer ships, then I would say it has to be in the background. That's the only way they do it now. It's probably the background of like the cover. It's probably not even in the movie or in the show anywhere.
Yeah. All right. Well, just as a go overall, they say that this Wave 11 should come out late second quarter 2017, which is around June, which usually is around Gen Con is when you can first get these things. So hopefully I'll be one of the lucky people to actually go to Gen Con to actually try to get one of these early, which is, for once, I approve of the Gen Con release. I always hated it because it's like, oh, great, you live around the Midwest. It's great for you. If you don't, well, you're screwed. But now that I'm actually going, I'm okay with it. But should we go first to the Azatuk gunship?
Yeah. I think it's actually pronounced
pretty good.
Gunship.
I have a hard time rolling my tongue.
Yeah.
Not even going to try.
Yeah. Yeah, I had an utter fail on the captain's question. I don't need to dig a deeper hole.
Well, you can redeem yourself by go ahead and reading the specs, Chief Engineer.
Okay.
Tell us about the Azatuk.
So it is a Rebel ship that's coming in. It has 3 attack, 1 defense, 1 agility, 6 hull, and 3 shields. The action bar contains the focus, and I believe it's for the first time on a small base ship, the reinforce action, which we'll probably talk a little bit later, but it is a little bit different than the epic ship.
Well, kind of, but
same concept.
Yeah, and also they don't need no stinking technology. They don't need target locks. They're just that good.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. It can also hold on to 2 crew. So it's got the 2 crew as far as the capability. Let's see. As far as the ships that they're coming out with, there's 4 included in the expansion pack. 2 generics, pilot skill 1 and a pilot skill 3. And then there are 2 unique pilots, a 5 and a 7 pilot skill.
Yeah, and the 5 looks to have like a L his name starts with and a W for the other one. So no black cruiser stand that I can see.
Yeah, I didn't even think about trying to Google the first couple of letters.
Yeah, like I'm not that
great. What that is? That's probably Lobaka.
Lobaka.
What about
if you read enough EU books, you've run into him.
I'm trying to remember Chewbacca's family from the Life Day special.
Yeah, I think he's like a nephew of Chewie's.
Who are the kids? Stinky the grandpa, and I can't remember them all. Anyways. Yeah, and just 2 crew for upgrades. Like, that's it. This thing is like really a barely space-worthy, low-tech ship, you know? I wouldn't be surprised if it was made of wood, but...
And about the only other thing that's interesting stat-wise is it's got an auxiliary firing arc. They've divided the template into 2 halves. They've got a fore and an aft.
Which,
the forward being auxiliary.
Probably the only reason you're doing that is just to make the that reinforced rule easier.
Yeah, that's probably playing into that.
Yeah.
But so should we talk about the reinforced rule? And I'll say that to me, this is the second epic action that's being brought into the regular game, and some people were not happy about this, but I see it as a attempt to perhaps bring epic into the normal game. Like, you could say the designers are running out of ideas, but you could also say that attempt to bring epic as an easier entry point. Oh, well, I'm used to epic now because I know what the reinforce action does, and I know what the coordinate action does from the Batwing. So maybe it's just making epic not as mysterious and crazy with the rules. It's an attempt to draw people into epic a bit more. Easier threshold to start playing that, because these crazy big ships with their crazy rules aren't so crazy when you've actually done the rules in regular game.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. Because if you've played Epic, you already know how this reinforce action works, basically, and it's largely the same. So you add something to this wave for standard play that most people, probably have at least some conception of already. So it's adding something to the standard play without adding something completely new to the game overall.
Right. Now, normally a reinforce lets you do the fore or the aft section of an epic ship, because even the one card, you still have the ship is split up in the front, fore and aft, at least for damage decks and things like that. But on a small base ship, how do you actually do that? Well, why don't we just split it in half? Well, how can we split it in half? How do we make it look like? Well, let's just draw an auxiliary arc exactly halfway down the ship. Well, doesn't that mean we have to give the ship auxiliary firing? Sure, whatever. Let's just give it auxiliary firing. Hey, now that you've got the reinforced token for a small base ship, you have to put it either on the fore or back of your small base ship. And then you trace your line of fire. Is it on hitting the front or the rear? Because now we have this nice little dividing line on the base.
Mm-hmm.
Very handy. So, what other ships have that dividing line? It's the I know
Houndstooth.
Houndstooth has it. Does anything else have it at this point?
At the
That's
50
split.
at the 50-50, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
unless
just the Houndstooth.
I think that's it.
the fire spray, if you want to, it's got two
that-
90-degree
that-
arcs, but
yeah, that wouldn't work.
yeah.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Like, J-Bot, what do you think about the idea of pulling in Reinforce from Epic into regular game?
I don't really have a super issue with it. There's a lot of questions the thing starts to beg for me. I know when you're normally drawing line of fire, it's always the shortest distance, so the closest point. So for me, the idea of having the dividing line seems kind of just redundant. I mean, are you hitting the back side of the ship or the front part of the ship? It's should be a fairly straightforward for anybody, I guess, if they want to put it there to get rid of like rules lawyering as much as possible. Okay, but in general, I don't mind it. It just, with this ship, not knowing anything about it, giving the auxiliary arc starts to sound really weird. Like, it doesn't have a turret, so that means it's got some kind of firing ability to its left and right, which on what is basically a helicopter doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. But in general, I'm okay with it. There's one thing I noticed. I should say two things I noticed, maybe three things, whatever. The card that they had included in it, the reinforce action, has as the symbol like that the little tokens are dual-sided. One side's fore, one side's aft. But the tokens that exist in the Epic game are not. They have a single icon. It's the same on both sides. That's just the reinforce icon. So I'm like, oh, that means the new ship's going to have a new token that shows fore and aft, and it's just going to be retroactively spread to the old ships. But then you look in the actual picture that comes with all the tokens.
The picture hasn't been updated, I think.
And the picture hasn't been updated. But here's the second thing. There's 2 reinforced tokens. Why do you ever need 2 reinforced tokens for one ship? So that was like, well, okay, so what's going on there? Or is there going to be an EPT that lets me spread my reinforced to another ship?
Or a special ability of one of the pilots?
Right, yeah. Is there something that's letting me spread it to another ship? So then it goes back to the question, why do I need the auxiliary arc on there if I have some way of giving my reinforced to another ship? I'm going to have to fall into a rule where I have to make that guesswork anyway of is it on the front or on the back. So maybe that's just them throwing 2 tokens on there for giggles, or it's eventually going to be edited so one side shows the fore and the other shows the aft, just to show you that there's 2 distinct ones, or who knows. But I'm okay with the token. It feels like this ship is just a Y-wing with some other non-turret stuff. And
I have heard Rebel players say, "Oh, look, the Rebel players get another ship with very low agility and a lot of hull and 3 attack dice. Wow,
right, yeah,
have the U-wing and the B-wing and the now we have another one. Yay!"
I mean, I think this will play very different from the U-wing or even really the B-wing. It may play closest to the B-wing, but that 180-degree firing arc is a big deal. 2 crew upgrades that allows you some really interesting options. Like, I think you can put tactician and gunner on there and turn it into a pretty crazy stress dealer. I have to check the good old flowchart to make sure that you can actually like double stress something like that. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can't, because people don't really do that with the YV666.
You should be able to do that, because if you shoot at someone and they're at range 2, they get stressed. If you miss, you can fire again. If you want to fire at the same person, you can. Yeah,
it's going to be a flowchart thing when those things trigger.
Yeah. Now, I do find it interesting that the PS1 guy is 24 points, putting it relatively cheap, I think, for what it does. For a beefy attack 3-die ship, they can fire pretty well. But I think it's interesting that there's one crew card, Wookiee Commandos, that's a 1-point card that takes up 2 crew slot. That basically says you can all your attacks. Hang on, is someone I'm sure is.
You can reroll your focus results.
Focus. Yep.
Oh, it's even re-roll the focus results. So, you get 2 actions. You can either focus or you can reinforce.
Right. And but that's there in case you reinforced and you don't have a focus on your ship. So you can re-roll those results. But it is 2 crew. Takes up both of your slots on a generic. So
1 point.
I feel like
it's cheap, but it takes up 2.
Yeah,
I feel like it should be 1 point if it's taking up both. Like on the generic, that's all I've got is 2 crew slot. There's no cannons, no missiles, no any other kind of upgrades that I can put on the ship besides modifications. So it is kind of expensive when you think about it. Both of my crew slots for 1 ability.
Yeah, I guess it's okay. It just I don't see it being used on many other ships besides this ship. Maybe if you want to put on a U-wing and have nothing else in the U-wing, but why are you taking a U-wing if you're not using the crew slots?
Well, I don't think you can, because the U-wing. Okay, I'm sorry. I was getting mixed up with the Batwing. Sorry.
Yeah. So the U-wing can take, that to re-roll the focus, but they can't use anything else. So maybe if you wanted to have it, even thematically, or use one of the other abilities of the U-wing pilots, but I don't see any of the large turreted ships that have crew slots, like the YTs or anything, wanting to use the Wookiee Commando, because those guys are loaded up elite dudes with the turrets. You'll want to use your crew slot for things. So it just seems odd. Like there's not really a lot of places you could actually fit that that you'd want to use the Wookiee Commandos. But
but I can see it. I can
so
see
cheap.
it with 4 of these with just that on the ship, and because remember you have no target lock, so this is really your only option for dice modification, aside from putting other types of random crew on there. So you could get 4 of these, 4 of the generics into a list. I mean, that's pretty hard hitting. Who knows what their dial is going to look like, but it's got to be better than a Hawks. We all know that. So
a lot of 9 hits to chew through, and the reinforced token making it even harder.
Right, yeah. So you just reinforce every turn and use your crew to help with any rerolls.
Yeah.
It also means that if somebody just because the Punisher mission, if somebody has the one that I can't think of right now that lets you turn something into a focus. You know which one I'm talking of? Sensor Jammer?
Sensor Jammer.
Yeah, so if somebody's running Sensor Jammer against it, for example, it doesn't help them. You still get to re-roll that, don't you?
Yeah. I keep thinking about Sensor Jammer a lot more since it's a part of our TIE Punisher mission. And so like there's another upgrade that we'll mention later on, but like Sensor Jammer pops in my head so prominently because we've been playing so much of the Punisher mission. And that really.
But one thing with this system, the sensor jammer, is that you can't re-roll the eyeball after it's been changed to an eyeball.
You can't. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So what about such things as like Backstabber dealing with outside of firing arcs? I think it's only primary firing arcs, not auxiliary, right?
No, that one's hit in the FAQ. So auxiliary fire arcs and so forth would count as triggers for like Backstabber.
Yeah.
Oh, so
anything that isn't a 360-degree arc. So the 180-degree ones like this one, rear-facing, mobile firing arcs, those all count as firing arcs.
Okay. Huh.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, that makes those mobile firing arcs a little bit more interesting too. I didn't realize that was part of the rule. So,
and another thing, if you want to take 4 generics with the Wookiee Commandos, I could see that being more of a thing because they're moving PS1, but they've got these 180 firing arcs. So if you combine them and kind of do some overlapping fire, you're sure to be able to shoot at something that round.
Oh yeah. I think that it's going to be a pretty easy thing to keep an enemy in arc with these ships.
Well, that was the trick with Houndstooth. People were running 3 of those, I think, at one point.
At least in our story.
Yeah, those large that 180-degree firing arc is more it's bigger than people think. It's like it's not a turret, but it's still you can half off the whole list. So if you fly at least 2 ships or 3 ships together, you can cut down almost every angle that something's coming at you. So
yeah, and this is significantly cheaper than the Houndstooth. The cheapest YV666 is 29 points, and they get 3 more shields, but that's like the only substantial difference, except for the fact that you get the reinforce action on the Ozatok, which is huge.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
And you can fit 4 Ozatoks in a list, but only 3 Trandoshan slavers in a list.
And I'm thinking it's kind of a better dial as well. And it's small arc, small base, which has a difference.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do here. I think it'll be interesting. I'm not a huge fan of the look of the ship, but overall, I think it'd be interesting to fly.
Yeah, I have to say this is the one I'm least excited about. Not that I have anything against it. I really like the other ones, and this one's just like, yeah, okay, this is neat. I don't really do Rebels as much though, so maybe that could be part of the.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
But it's not a bad ship. I don't mean to slam it like that. But this is the one I'm like, yeah, whatever.
I think the other upgrade guards that we haven't seen are going to be interesting too. One is going, I think, from straining my eyes and looking at these cards, one's going to interact with the reinforce token. I'm not really sure how, but the other card with a Wookiee in the card art, which I think will be selfless, is an ability that I've used a lot in like custom rules, where it looks like if a friendly ship close to you gets attacked, you can suffer uncancelled hits instead of the attacked ship. So you fly in front of the lasers.
With your reinforced token.
Yeah.
Wonder if that'll block it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Huh.
I hope not. that kind of ruins the whole selfless thing. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. We ran into something similar to that with like if an assault missile hits, for example. That's the splash you can't block with the reinforce because you're not the focus of the attack.
Right.
That's what I wonder about in this case. If you is it all considered an attack and you're just taking the overflow of them, or?
And it's the one thing that I killed Shizor for the few people that used him, because I thought he was actually great when he came out. He was perfect against all the meta. When I used him, like he destroyed Brobots. But TLTs really killed him because
TLTs were rough on him.
Yeah, because it was a matter of he can shunt unblocked damage from the die roll, but if you TLT, just gets rid of the die rolls and just throws a damage in, so it doesn't count. So Shizor really, if you really wanted, probably would have been a great TLT killer was if they changed if they FAQ'd Shizor so that he could shunt off a TLT hit to somebody near him. That would have just destroyed TLT.
Yeah.
That would have brought Shizor to the forefront. Everybody would have been running him. Yep.
Yeah, too bad.
Oh well. All right. Should we move on to the next ship?
Yeah, I think I'm all done.
Yeah. It's good.
Cool. So this other one's really interesting, and I even haven't quite fathomed how to do it, but the Skurg H6 bomber, which is a crazy, terrible name, but
Skurg.
Skurg.
Back to rolling those R's.
Yeah. So I did. First off, I just want to say this thing's on a small base. This thing's I think bigger than a large base from the looks of it.
Yeah.
Don't even try. Don't even start. I've already complained about that. It looks like about the same width as a K-wing. Just eyeballing.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as big as a K-wing width-wise, but
I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those medium ships. You can tell by also how many cards are in the pack.
Yep.
That's in a sort of medium size container.
Yeah, it's probably coming by itself, more than likely. I mean, as in one of the bigger boxes, the big ship of this set.
Maybe I don't.
No, they show it as a blister pack.
Yeah, I think they come in blister packs, but they're bigger blister packs.
Oh, the $20 blister packs.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's medium ship range. So
yeah, they're right. Yeah,
there's no medium base, but there are medium ships.
But we have medium price.
Right.
So when I first heard about this, and I looked up, and Nim was the unique pilot. I initially thought that the Sling Paint YouTube channel, one of the hosts is Nim, and that he inspired a new ship, a new pilot for the ship. And that FFG, were so impressed with them. But
that make you angry?
No, I like them. So it didn't. We've got our dues. But I did look up in Wikipedia to find out more about who this Nim is and what this ship is. So I did find out that the ship was designed by the Nubian Design Collective to sell to Naboo. As a heavy bomber, a heavy multi-purpose bomber. But the peace-loving Nubians, I guess, didn't really want a bomber. They're like, we're a peace-loving nation as the Republic. We'll have your cool little yellow fighters, but we don't really need a giant heavy bomber. We're not going to be, I don't know, embargoed or anything. So they said no, and they were going to scrap everything. But the guy who created it hated that, and he knew, for whatever reason, a pirate, Fiorin, A Fioran looks like they're very odd looking. They have lots of tentacle hair things in the back, like a Twi'lek, but smaller. They have no nose, and they've got whiskers like a catfish. Fiorans. And I did some quick looking up on them, and apparently they were a race that spread out and destroyed their own home planet due to, I forget it was industrialization or warfare or something, but as a lesson to us all, they destroyed their home planet like we shouldn't, and then spread amongst the stars. And the Fioran pirate Nim ended up getting it, and he ended up raiding a whole bunch of Trade Federation stuff. He had beef against the Trade Federation. He attacked their supplies. He, when they blockaded Naboo, he actually ran the blockade for whatever reason, in apparently some comics or EU novels, and then even destroyed a droid production facility. Now, he was, after that, or I should say, the Clone Wars, he then fought for the Republic, and he still targeted the hated Trade Federation, who is now part of the Confederates. I mean, the Confederation of Aligned Planets, or whatever it is.
CIS.
And he continued to fight them. And after the Clone Wars, they pardoned him for all his piratical ways, but he didn't care. He still went back to being a pirate. and during the Galactic Civil War, he did not openly declare for one side or the other, but he raided Imperial shipping and would help out stranded rebel pilots when he could. So he was for the rebels. And that's reflected in one of the unique things about this ship. Phil, you want to tell us about that?
Right. So if you look at the preview, it's got two different dials. It's got a scum dial and a rebel dial, and one of the pilot cards has two versions. It has like a scum version and a rebel version. So this is a dual faction ship at release.
Yep.
Sort of how the Hawk is, or the C-95 or Y-wing.
But it looks like only Nim.
Yeah, just that one pilot.
That one pilot. He's the only. So you can't get like two of these in a rebel list. You could put Nim, and that's it.
That's right.
But before we get too far into it, how about Chief Engineer tells us its specs?
Sure thing. We've got 3 attack, and it's primary. Doesn't have the auxiliary firing arc like the previous ship. 1 agility. We got 5 hull and 5 shield, so pretty robust. The action bar, you get focus, the target lock, and the barrel roll. And as far as upgrades are concerned, we've got turret weapon, torpedo, missile, crew, and 2 bomb slots are available.
That's a lot. I mean, that's got a lot of stuff on it.
It fits up to its name. It's a bomber, so you got to load it up with all that ordnance.
Yeah, and a turret. That's kind of crazy. Like, I don't see where the... Oh, there it is, right above the cockpit.
It just feels a lot like a Y-wing with a couple of upgraded slots.
Yeah, and a primary attack of 3.
Yeah.
I mean...
Right, yeah, but I think that's just a creep, to be honest with you. I think the primary attack of 3 is like, oh, we need to just start giving everything a 3 now.
Yeah. Definitely not a 1.
Yeah.
And
Points-wise, it's...
Yeah.
It's what, the pilot skill 1 is 24 points?
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, to me seems a bit on the light side for something that can take this kind of stuff. And with the 3 attack dice.
What is even a contracted scout? You know, I mean, because that thing was pretty cheap. I mean, I know that everyone says that particular thing had the EPTs as
I think a good comparison would be a B-wing. It's pretty comparable to a B-wing. B-wing lowest generic is pilot skill 2 at 22 points. This has 2 more hull than a B-wing, and a more varied upgrade bar.
Well, if you even look at the Jumpmaster 5000 contracted scout, it's got 5 hull, 4 shield, so it's just short of 1 shield, but it's got 2 green evade dice, and that comes in at 25 points. Now,
yeah,
its
but it also has a
weapon
primary weapon
is
of 2.
of 2, but it's also a turret.
And it's also a large base. It's not a good comparison.
All right.
It's not. This thing is very, very close to a B-Wing. And I think it is, a better value than you get for a B-Wing, just because you get the 2 more hull at just 1 point each, really. Difference between pilot skill 1 and pilot skill 2 is usually pretty negligible. And you get more combo action with that upgrade bar. Because you can have crew and bombs, and there's also going to be crazy bomb stuff going on with this ship.
If you take the crew upgrade for the B-Wing, it would be similar, and they would be the same points, right?
How many? How many
it's
points
a 1 point
is that?
tax for the crew upgrade on the B-Wing.
Oh, 1 point. Okay.
Yeah, and it takes your modification slot, which is also useful.
Gotcha.
In a lot of cases. So yeah, I think this is better stat line, better core ship value than the B-Wing.
I have to admit, I look at this ship and I look at the 1 torpedo and the 2 bomb slots, and I think extra munitions plus some bombs.
Well, you may not need the extra munitions, because one of these cards is going to be bomb or bomblet generator. That's that dotted card that you can sort of see half the text for, but it's historically something that's been on Skurgs. Like if you read up on Skurgs, this is one of the things that they talk about. And you can also notice that this comes with 2 bomb tokens that look the same. So there's a real possibility that you can be dropping 2 bombs a turn with this.
It's possible. Yeah, it is possible. And I also think, though, I guess because they are the one-time use bombs, because normally you could say, well, you've got 2 bomb slots, but you would not need 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those may not, they look like one-time use bombs. They may not be, just may be the same, shape as a one-time use bomb has been so far, but, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a one-time use.
Yeah. And the article does say you can litter the battlefield with mines.
Yes, that's true.
And there is, the bomb something unique crew we don't really know about.
That is the bomb generator.
Yeah, that you were just talking about. Yeah, okay.
So Phil, kind of thematically with what you read about the Skurg bomber and this bomb generator concept, how would that fit into it potentially being unique? That's the part that intrigues me the most off of what you just said.
I think that's probably a balance concern. You wouldn't want to have, say, 3 of these things flying around, all generating bombs and, quote, littering the battlefield with mines, because you would fill up the battlefield pretty damn quick.
Like the article
it would just become cluttered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would litter the battlefield. So in what you read, was this a person or was it a device?
Device, I believe.
Well, because we look at it, there's that bomb generator, but there's also the mine mapper, which is a system. And that's the one I was more referring to. I couldn't recall what it was. But mine mapper is a system, which we can get into how it can actually use a system card. But did we even look at what that particular, there's like half the card you can read, but I can't quite read it?
I think it might allow you to put some mines on the battlefield before you start the game, because it says during setup, blah blah blah, forces step, any number of blah blah blah. It looks like mine upgrades, corresponding blah blah, probably tokens. And it says the play something, so maybe play area. Thematically, it would kind of make sense to, if it was a mind map, maybe.
Yeah.
That you'd be able to put mines on the battlefield before the game starts.
Which is significant, I think.
Definitely significant, yeah.
And also, while you could use it on this ship, as a system, it could also work on the TIE Punisher.
Dun, 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 dun. TIE Punisher.
TIE Punisher. So maybe this is a slight boost to a TIE Punisher, so that even like, because let's just say take the generic TIE Punisher. You want to go cheap, but you can load it with some things. You can throw out Connor nets or cluster mines, or who knows? You could throw it out there ahead of time, which you're not going to quote waste the mines, by not putting them out before dying too soon.
Yeah, I bet that the way this works is you put the mines down after the step where you already put your ships down. You probably discard the mine or bomb upgrade cards to put these put the mines out there, and let's see, you probably can't put them too close to the enemy ships. It's probably like beyond range 2 or something of enemy ships. That's right, I guess.
Now, just to kind of go into how it can actually get a system, just to kind of go in the background, that Nim did steal the one prototype, but then a few more prototypes were made down the line somewhere by somebody. I can't recall the full details. It was kind of vague. But so that's where you can actually have more than one of these in a list. But Nim did have he modified his prototype. And he, of course, named it. So, J-Bot, what's the name of this particular prototype?
On this one, I think they're calling it the Havoc, is what this one is.
Yes, a title.
Yeah, which I'm not very happy with, to be perfectly honest with you, but whatever.
As in, you don't like the name, or you don't like what it does?
I don't like what it does.
You want to tell us what it does?
Upgrade bar gains the system and the salvaged astromech. Upgrade icons and loses the crew. Cannot equip non-unique salvaged astromech upgrade cards. This is another one of those might as well always take it titles, because unless you absolutely have to have a crew, it does.
Well, I wouldn't say that necessarily.
Well, what else are you going to use for it? So if you're not taking
a lot of the generic salvage astromechs are really good.
Right, if you're going to take one, but that's what I'm saying. It's like if I want the system, whatever that fancy system is, or if I want the sensor jammer, or if I want the all the other very interesting systems that are out there, then to me, there's no reason not to take this. And
but it's also
unless there's
scum.
a salvage one that you want.
A lot of them are scum, and there's a lot of good scum crew that do all sorts of crazy things. So actually, I'm not getting back into this argument, guys. But like I said, if you're not taking a crew, there's no reason not to take this. That was what I qualified the whole thing with, and I'm not getting back into this argument. I think there was options, though. I think you could you have to make the decision. Do you want the crew, or do you want the salvaged astromech or system? And I kind of like that, and I like the fact that it's only one of them, so you can't have like multiple H6 with the system card, which is good.
Yeah, I think it just adds more variety to the ship combos that you can have, which may be dangerous, but I don't have any strict problems with. It's fine with me. Anyway.
Biff, what are your thoughts on it?
On the title, I'm kind of it's great to have options. It's 0 pointer, so I play into the whole thing of if you're not to J-Bot's point, if you're not going to take a crew, you might as well just take this, because it just opens up what you can go with. So I'm kind of indifferent to it.
Yeah. I will say there's not a lot of there's only 3 unique salvaged astromechs, and only Painbot is really the one that I could see putting on it. But you do see a named one R4 something.
Yeah, that might be good. We don't know anything about that.
Yeah. And there is also a new crew.
Good old Cad Bane.
Cad Bane. J-Bot, you know Cad Bane or no?
I've seen the character. I don't know anything about him.
You haven't seen the Clone Wars. Okay. The cartoon. In the cartoon, Cad Bane is the totally awesome, scum mercenary bounty hunter who kicks the Jedi's butt all the time.
Yeah.
He's really good.
That's right.
He's kind of what Django or Boba should be.
Yes.
In my mind, he's that kind of good. I think J-Bot, you'd really like his character because of that.
Yeah, he's got a cool hat too.
That's true.
It's a cool hat.
He's got an attitude.
Yeah, you would like him because he's probably like the most effective bounty hunter in all of, the
in all Star Wars media, probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Cad Bane even had some interactions with, effectively the Emperor. I mean, he's not the Emperor yet, but he's interacting with Palpatine, and Cad's got some backbone to the whole thing. So it's just really neat. It's just neat to see somebody going toe to toe with both sides, the dark and the light. So it's cool.
Yeah.
I think just as an aside, I think you guys completely skipped the genius salvaged astromech that's in here.
Is there one that's in there?
Yeah, it's a 0 point unique astromech. If you're equipped with a bomb that can be dropped before you reveal your maneuver val, you can do it after you execute your maneuver instead.
Yeah.
On a bomb dropping beast is what this thing seems to be. So
yeah, but dropping your, I mean that's got a built-in drawback. No, I mean you're dropping the bomb on yourself.
0.
Well, it depends on what type of bomb it is.
Yeah.
If you drop in a proximity, you can drop the thing behind you.
But you can't drop proximity mines before revealing your maneuver. It's only those.
Only the ones you can do afterwards.
Yeah. It's basically seismic.
There's only a couple that you can drop that way.
Yeah,
right. It's all the ones that explode automatically.
You move. It's not an action. It's a free thing. So seismic bombs that just do 1 damage to everybody in range 1. There's proton ion, bombs, which ionizes everybody in range 1, and then there's proton, which does 1 face-up damage through shields. So 1 critical hit through shields to everybody. Oh, and there's also the new one from the Ghost, thermal detonator.
Yeah.
So it does 1 damage and 1 stress to everybody at range 1.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could.
Yeah, but these are things that make you able to drop these things onto high agility ships that you normally wouldn't be able to hit, or that can dodge around them if you drop them before you maneuver. Yes, you're going to take the hit, but they're like, ooh, look, I can get a free shot on something. I mean, especially with the pilot skill 8, you've got the opportunity to drop them.
I mean, I haven't seen anybody really use them effectively.
No, but that doesn't mean that you can. I think particularly the ship that's maybe a bit beefier like this, let's say you've got the turret on it, let's say you get somewhere and you ionize somebody like Sunterfell or Fen Rao or somebody like that, and then you can then hit them up with your turret after the fact, the next turn, because you know where they're going to be. Even though you're ionized, you know where you're going to be. Or
yeah, but you can hit them the same turn. That's the trick with those. Is, oh, look, I can ionize you. If I'm going... Let's say I'm going before these people and I'm able to drop this thing right where they're going to be. Or if I'm going after them and I drop it, now I know the next turn as well as this turn I'm getting shots on them. So it's like it's a 2-turn kind of gambit. So, hey, I dropped an ion bomb on you. Yes, I'm ionized, but I've got a turret. You might be ionized in the completely wrong direction, and I've got 2 turns of hammering you with my turret while you just kind of drift in space.
Or even like a seismic. Hey, I can take 1 damage. I've got a ton of shield and hull. But oh, your TIE Swarm, bam, they all take 1 damage. Or oh, your Fen Rao, ooh, he takes 1 damage. Or
I think there's options there. I mean, that's a 2 0-point cards. I mean, you're not paying anything for just having the option of doing that.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
You do pay the astromech slot. And there are a lot of really great astromechs for
scum. But no, there's only 3
you have to take a unique one. So if the one that's in this isn't great, then maybe the others.
There's 3 that we know of and an unknown. So basically, there's the one that there's Painbot. There's R4B11, which means if you're attacking, have a target lock of defender, you may spend the target lock to choose any or all defense dice. They must re-roll that, which I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be good. Maybe
No, that's not a bad one either, because I know we haven't gotten to it, but the turret in this requires a target lock to fire anyway. So you start combining all these things. The sync turret, you have to have a target lock to fire it.
Oh.
Yeah, so we could talk about the
but you don't
turret.
have to. You don't have to spend it. You just have to have it. So look, with my crazy mech, whichever one that was, now I can burn the target lock I had to have anyway to make you re-roll all of your, or as many as it all of them, or just I choose.
You choose.
Yeah. So it's not that powerful, or not that weak of a combination, though it is expensive.
Now they kind of detail the sync turret in the next ship, but we could probably talk about it now.
Yeah, it's in this pack too. So
yeah, I think it's in this pack.
So Biff, tell us the specs on the sync turret.
Sync turret. It's got 3 attack, range 1 to 2, costs you 4 points, and the text reads: attack target lock, as J-Bot just mentioned. Attack one ship, even if that ship is outside your firing arc. If the defender is inside your primary firing arc, you may re-roll a number of attack dice up to your primary weapon value. So you got a little bit of an automatic embedded target lock in the attack of this turret.
And this thing is priced just like a blaster turret, with the exception that you need the target lock, but you don't have to spend the target lock.
Right.
And this thing is also further good than the blaster turret, because the blaster turret requires you to have a focus, and focus don't stick around each round unless you have the Moldy Crow title.
Right.
So you could actually, if you've got someone you're still trying to nail, you put the target lock on them. Then other turns you can use other actions, barrel rolls or focus or.
Yeah, it's something I'm hoping. I know we discussed this in brief, and I'll just pass on. I'm hoping that they make that adjustment to the blaster turret at some point in the next few FAQs, because there's definitely room for it on the card.
Right. Yeah, that would be
to make that small change.
Errata. Yeah, that would be a justified change for sure.
Yeah, for a turret that's never getting used anymore.
Never, ever. Yeah.
Right. Though I think the sync turret, because I was a little at first like, it's okay. It's 4 points still. Ion turret's 5. How is it? And a lot of people were just kind of, I started the thread on FFG, and a lot of people were just like, it's terrible. But some people came up with some really creative uses for it, such as, let's say on the Y-Wing scum pilot Cavill, if you were firing outside of his main firing arc, he gets an extra attack die. So let's just say, he gets the target lock, whether with one of these other generic astromechs or whatnot. You get a target lock and you're firing outside your firing arc. You're rolling 4 dice. Or let's say he's Cavill. I don't want to be outside his main firing arc. So you're inside his main firing arc and he gets the rerolls. It's kind of like a win-win situation with Cavill.
Right. Yeah, and because you're not spending the target lock, you can still spend said target lock on the attack outside of your arc anyway.
Right.
To reroll dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I see this as an interesting combo with that salvaged astromech I just mentioned, because now you're getting to reroll your attack dice, and you have the option, not rerolling, but you have the option of either rerolling yours or forcing them to reroll theirs. It's an expensive combo, but it's still a very interesting option that's on the table if you take the title and some other stuff.
Yeah. Of course, it always has to compete with Twin Laser Turret in terms of like how much damage it can output.
Yeah.
Right. So thinking about this, yes. If you're a tournament player, Twin Laser Turret will always win. You should either take Twin Laser Turret or maybe Auto Blaster Turret, and no other turret is ever going to compare the end. But if you're, say, I don't know, a casual player, dirty casual, you can, there's a lot of reasons. Like I purposely do just avoid TLTs just because they're so used. I like to find odd things, and I like to take Y-Wings with things. I usually like putting ion turrets, but even just besides the ion turret, something else. And this is another ship. And let's say you've got a couple of Y-Wings, because you're playing not 100 points or a mission or something that will, several Y-Wings are good. But going with, like, say, Dutch Vander, and another Y-Wing that has the blaster turret, because Dutch can do his target lock and dish out a target lock, and another ship can do like a focus and then get the free target lock and be able to fire. So I think that's something that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have like a problem with this turret or anything. I'm just, I fear that it's gonna, go the road of dorsal turret and just, be mostly relegated to the back of the binder section for most people.
Well, I want to think about focus on it for, non-tournament. I think it's useful. Also, if you've got a target lock on somebody, you can ignore bigs.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
And
so this is a stupid question. I guess it makes the assumption that the target lock is on the target you're firing at, because it just says have a target lock. Like, it doesn't necessarily. It just says attack one ship, even a ship outside your firing arc, but it doesn't say attack the ship you have the target lock on.
I think if you look up the rules for special requirements to attack, colon whatever means, it'll say that it has to be on that one. But
yeah, I'm sure it's somewhere deep in the rules. I'm just looking at the face of the card. It seems odd to me, but I think getting around bigs is always a fun thing. So I didn't think of it that way, but that's there. And with something like fire control system on this, if you take the Havoc title, you just keep locked on the target too. You don't ever have to worry about if you spin it or not.
That's right.
There's also, if you take Deadeye, you just need a focus.
It's also true.
Yeah.
And that you don't have to spend. It becomes a improved blaster turret. Because it's a requirement, you need a focus, but you don't have to actually spend the focus to fire it. So.
Oh, really? I thought you had to still spend the focus.
No, that's the thing. You don't have to spend the target lock. With a blaster turret, you do, but with Deadeye, if it has a requirement target lock, you can use focus instead. So basically, it reads attack focus. You can attack a target outside, blah blah. It never says spend.
Sure. I'm looking at it right now, and it says when an attack instructs you to spend a target lock, you may spend a focus token instead. Are you keying off may?
I guess if it requires you to spend the target lock, Deadeye. So
I've always interpreted it as, hey, rather than it saying attack target lock, it says attack focus, which my parlance means you have to spend the focus to perform that attack.
Now that you read, I always thought it says if you can use a focus instead of a target lock, but that says if you have to spend the target lock, you can use a focus, and you don't have to. So it wouldn't actually work then with sync turrets. Huh.
Yeah, that would sort of break this back to my question of if that's how that worked, then I could just have a focus and fire at anything.
Yeah.
Basically. So yeah, that spend, I think, is going to be the break point on that.
Yeah, and with that one unique astromech that you can, if you've got the target lock on them, you can make them re-roll their defensive dice. I think overall, there's some synergy there, and I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Do you think that the Pilot Skill 3 Havoc, which has a elite pilot talent, do you think people might turn that into a U-boat style first strike attack ship?
If so, it's only got one torpedo as opposed to the two.
Yeah, but it's got a missile upgrade too.
It's got the missile upgrade?
So you could missile with extra munitions, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Oh, it does have a missile.
And you could
it's got so many things I can't even see.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got almost every slot filled except for just enough room for an EPT on those higher level pilots.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really sure, but you might be able to use some of those cheap scum crew like Zuckuss on the initial attack. Maybe you could use one ship as the Havoc with a. I'm not sure if any of the unique salvage Astros would be good here in that sort of first strike roll. Probably not. Unless R4.
I don't know. I think it's possible. I don't think it's going to be as cheap and amazing as.
Yeah, not having the turret, not having the 2 agility. I don't think it's like there's a potential for danger there, but it's not necessarily going to be U-boats reborn. Also, we don't know what cruise missiles are.
Right, yeah, we don't know what those do exactly, do we? Do we have a good guess?
It has something to do with the speed of your maneuver, I think.
Yes.
Attack dice equal to the speed of your maneuver or something?
That's why I was wondering if it was like a modification. You may re-roll a certain number of attack dice equal to the speed of your maneuver.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
Yeah, we have no idea. Some people say it's probably it's 2 attack dice and adds as at the speed. So that's what most people think. But
that would get disgusting, unless they give something a 3 speed. I blaze ahead at speed 4 and then fire these things. That would be a little stupid. Well, unless it's like an X. And we get into the magic world of X's and placeholder variables for your speed equals the number of damage it does, and then we open up a whole nother Pandora's box of problems.
Yeah.
And you got to remember what speed you just executed, because I'm usually pulling the dials off the board when I'm done moving something, and it just
And does it count? Boy. Does it count my maneuver speed, or what if I put engine upgrade and boosted? Does that mean it's only one, or is it a combination of both of those things?
No, I think it'd be more like the speed of your dial, and the boosting is diddly, but yeah.
Let's just hope it's not as complicated as it could be.
Right. Wow, this thing's just very versatile, and you can load it out to kind of fulfill a lot of different roles, I think. I mean, if you get whether it's got a crew or it's got the system and unique astromech, and it's got missiles and torpedoes and bombs and turrets, and it's I think if you load it with everything, it's going to become too much. But if you want to load it for a specific purpose, there's a lot to kind of go with on that thing. We don't even know what the special
this feels really. Don't load them up. Choose a facing. Either go forward with everything or backwards or a little bit of each. Don't try and put both on there, because you'll end up way overcosted and just get focus fired down.
Or the epic ships.
Yeah.
Cool. So are we ready to move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think we're beating that dead horse.
So this next one, I'm really excited. This is one, my favorite of the whole expansion, that just makes me giddy, to deal with this card for this ship and everything in it. There's so many things I'm excited about this next thing, the TIE Aggressor. And I had to look up some background on it. So it was, of course, done by the same developer. Was it Signer, or however you say it? Sinar, of course. And it was developed as a multi-role fighter bomber that basically specialized pilots. A lot of the Imperial strategy was either very cheap, easy to replace, kind of throw them in TIE fighters, or very specialized like the TIE Interceptor, or things like this. And this was kind of a multi-purpose role, kind of unique, and kind of in that it kind of clashed with the rest of Imperial, which is why it was never used as much. It also took a lot of extra training for the crew to kind of get used to its abilities. But it looks like a TIE Advanced with a tail gunner. And
it kind of looks like someone took a pair of clippers and went after the TIE Advanced.
Well, they removed some of the solar panels so that the gunner would have more firing arcs and wouldn't shoot its wings off. And
as long as it fires mostly to the back.
So the idea, the strategy they said was in a furball, these things would kind of curve along the edges, and the turrets would fire in at the enemy. And whenever somebody, and they would always fly in pairs, whenever somebody would go out after these, that the tail gunner would concentrate on it, and then its wingman would pop in behind the enemy on your tail and light them up that way as well. So you'd kind of combo it, and that was the overall strategy of what to do with this particular ship.
Yeah, it makes some sort of sense anyway.
Yeah. So before we get too much into it and what we think of its design, J-Bot, how about we have our chief engineer tell us its specs?
Sure thing. So it's got 2 attack primary, 2 agility, 4 hull, and it does have a shield, 1 shield. The action bar is filled up with focus, target lock, and the barrel roll. And the upgrade bar contains a turret weapon, which we've just kind of been talking about, and 2 slots for missiles.
Yes. So, J-Bot, what do you think of this particular ship?
You just want me to tear into it to begin
Interesting.
with?
Why you went directly at J-Bot there.
Throwing the softball.
Yeah, just get mine out of the way first. I just don't like the design of it. For me, it causes a lot of problems. I know we joked about this, but if you go and look at the larger kind of schematic pictures that you can find online of this, the turret pretty much can't fire at all to the front arc if it's firing straight at something, because not only are the wings in the way, but the actual cockpit bubbles up above the height of the turret. Yeah. So anything to the front, you're going to be blasting into your ship. Now, I know Jim said, "Oh, it's just going to fire above it and below it." So I've got a question for Biff here. Biff, you're aeronautics, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So if I'm flying a fighter jet, I know this isn't exactly the same thing, but if I'm flying a fighter jet, and I want to shoot at something with my primary, like, pew, 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 out the front of it, do I just look at it with my eyes and the guns track it, or do I have to point the ship at it? Like, do I have to point the airplane at that thing to fire? Does that make sense?
Well, it depends on if you're talking, you've got a guided or an unguided system.
Right.
So for like a weapon like this,
like machine guns, I guess is what I'm looking at. So if I'm firing my machine guns,
depends on the machine gun.
Right.
Well,
so the machine guns can track up and down and left and right. Right.
If you're flying like a helicopter, yeah, it's on a gimbal turret.
Right, and so those do it for it, right? But do they go way up in the air, or are they just like, they're not going 90 degrees up, correct? They're going mostly to the front. So that means it's sticking out in front of the ship, right?
If it's on a swivel mount, like you look at some of the turrets that were on bombers from like the Second World War, they'll have machine guns and they can fire vertically.
Yep.
Right,
and then,
but they can't fire completely around the ship, right?
But not like through the ship. No, that would be a bad thing. Yes.
I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Glad we asked you your expert opinion.
That's right.
Cannot fire through your own ship.
Yeah. So I guess the problem here is, if something's flying over me, yes, I could fire my turret at it, but like, this is a 360 game, right? So if I want to fire at the ship flying under me, I have to turn the ship upside down to be able to fire at it from where this turret's at. And we understand that because that's how all these things go, and this is a very abstract kind of viewpoint on these things.
And if you want to shoot something from the side, you would pivot it to the side so it could shoot, quote, up. And I get this because we first had this discussion.
Right.
You said it could only shoot, above and behind, and I mentioned how it could spin and shoot everywhere but the front. So I absolutely agree with you that its current design here, it should not be able to fire out the front.
Right, and I'm okay with it. I get it because we allow a lot of this stuff in the Star Wars universe, like the whole how can I see as a TIE fighter pilot to my left and right anyway. But like, it just bothers me because it feels like we needed a turreted Imperial ship because it was the one gigantic, like, small base thing missing from them. So let's come out with this ship that I guess it exists. I'm sure it's somewhere in the EU or Legends or whatever, and they dragged it into this, or they threw it as 5 frames into a TV show or
there
movie.
Is a
it's
ride
from Star Wars.
It's
from Star Wars Galaxies. That's where it's
right.
from.
Oh, so it's from an old video game, way old video game.
No, Star Wars Galaxy's not old, not that old.
Go back and look at it. That's a really old game now.
No, like X-Wing and TIE Fighter and X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, those are really old games. Galaxies was only like 5 years ago.
Galaxies was like over a decade ago. So
was it? Doesn't seem it was that long.
I think it basically, it came out over a decade ago. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know how long it kept going, but
yeah, we're getting old, gents. And in case y'all have lost track of time there, we're starting to get old.
Okay, it came out in 2003.
Yeah, look at that. Almost 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
And it was shut down 2011.
Yeah, officially shut down. So, it had died a long time before that. But we won't get into the MMO world. But in general, I don't like that. I get it. We need it. It's a hole that kind of existed in the Empire side of the game, is they don't have small turreted ships. So I'm kind of okay in that sense, but I just don't like the general design of it. But I don't like the design of most TIE fighters anyway. They just feel like impractical. They just don't. Like the whole, I can't see to my left and right, so I'm using sensors to do it. I guess that's how everything in space is sensors, but they're the only ships that do this.
Now, I think if FFG could go back in time, they would change a few things, because I don't think they could make it a rear firing arc because they just did it with the TIFO.
Right.
And the special forces. And if you go back to the complaints about the special forces, they talk about in the movie how that should be a turret, how the gunner swivels it, and that should really be a turret or a 360 ship. So I think if FFG could go back in time and make the TIFO special forces be the one that can fire 360 or has a turret or something like that, then this ship would have an auxiliary firing arc, and it would stay an auxiliary firing arc, and just leave it at that. And I do absolutely agree, and I think that's the model itself doesn't lend to the rules, and that it's probably a victim of it has to be different enough from what just came out a couple waves ago. So that's my thoughts on the overall design. But I do agree that the forward firing with a turret, etc., is odd and probably not right.
Yeah,
but
it's just that most of the other ships you see, and I don't know them all super well, is that the turret tends to stick out below the ship in some way. It's not. It tends to look at least like it's not going to fire into the ship when it's spinning around. And when I see this, I know this is a weird connection. This is what my mind does. It reminds me of Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade, where the older Jones is firing and the oops, and he shoots the ship. Like, oh, they got us. That's what I see when I see this ship. Is you're gonna be turning around in the heat of battle and end up firing in the cockpit with this thing.
I was rolling on the floor laughing when I saw the picture of the synced turret, and I read the modifier that if the defender is in your primary firing arc, in other words, you've spun that turret all the way around to the front and you're shooting at it, that's when you get the bonus. Well, you've just taken out your pilot in accomplishing that.
Right. Yeah, because that picture of the synced turret is the one from this ship.
Yeah.
Right. Which is silly. I totally get that.
It actually looks like it can't fire that far vertically either. It just looks like it's kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Star Wars. We shouldn't dig that deep into it.
I have to say though, I really can't wait for the ship. Exactly. I'm really excited about the ship.
Yeah. As a side note, I fully understand like everybody's excitement for the ship. There's some very neat stuff in there. So I'll let you guys get onto it and end my little mini rant.
Let me even just say, beyond any type of the upgrade cards, which I think are awesome, I think this ship is just cool, and it makes me want to run all these crazy missions and stuff with it, because it makes me think of like a Dauntless from World War II U.S. aircraft, fighting in the Pacific. It's flying out there as a fighter bomber with a gunner in the back, and I just think that it could be like an escort ship. Let's say you've got some cargo ships flying, either pirates or rebels are attacking it, but you've got a squad of these things as like its protector, because it can, fire different directions, and it's got ordnance, so it can attack into the larger capital ship raiders, and it can. I see that, or let's say it's almost like the equivalent of the Y-wing. The Imperials are going on a run, and it's going to be a lot of enemy fighters coming, so you maybe don't want the bombers, and you add in these things there. And they can come up and, they've got the target. And they can actually, if a squad of 3 of them with turrets and stuff and their own firing arcs could really cover themselves as they go in for a run on something, as they do a run. And just the idea of this ship, of just how cool this thing is, it really excites me conceptually. And I just want to run it. I want to get like 3 or 4 of these things and put them in Epic and just, or even just some like 200-point game, or just some sort of mission, it just really sounds cool to me. I just love the idea of this ship, completely independent of all the cool other things that come in it. I just think there's a lot of things you can do story-wise with this ship.
I worry for the survivability of epic ships, or at least non-Imperial epic ships, against this sort of thing. Oh, it's got rockets, and I can put a TLT on it. Just when I run out of rockets. Actually, in this case, I guess you don't if you use the upgrade card it comes with.
I know there's a lot of Imperials that are excited to get TLTs in this thing, but I have to admit that I think TLTs totally fit into the background story of cruising around the outskirts and shooting in, but I have to admit that I don't want to put TLTs in this thing. I know it comes with TLTs, but I just don't want to, because TLTs are broken. And I think it's funny, I was listening to a bunch of other podcasts, and even like Minox Squadron, they were talking about the new FAQ and changes and all. And I think pretty much all of them, not just the non-tournament guy, D, who's my favorite in the show, said that TLT's broken. Like they all admitted that TLT is overpowered.
Yeah, I mean it's why
they finally came around.
Yeah, it's why TLT is going to be banned from Gen Con.
Yeah.
It's because, frankly, it scares almost every other generic ship out of the water, because there's really no generic ship that can compete against like a Y-Wing with a twin laser turret. Like in terms of just pure efficiency, and that's how I should be going. That's the angle I should be taking in terms of balancing that event. Knowing that the other guy's list is going to be made up almost entirely of generics going into each match, you could just run twin laser turret Y-Wings, which are also really good at scenarios, just for shooting like random objectives out of the back of your arc. It would just be too easy and boring and overpowered, so they're out.
Conversely, talking about the sync turret, a lot of people have said, what would make the TLT a bit more balanced? Require it to have a target lock on somebody.
Change it to the attack target lock header. That would do a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Jim and I got into this conversation about turrets in general, and I don't know that there's ever been a serious time where turrets were overpowering everything. I know outside of the Fat Han and Dash specifics, I don't know that there was, and that's because
that was
back
two waves.
Right, but back in the day, those were two ships. Like it wasn't.
Well,
it wasn't
everywhere.
like two
Fat
waves.
Turret,
it was really two ships. That was
Fat
the meta.
Turrets dominated the meta so completely. Like Fat Han was like the thing for a number of rounds, and then Wave 5 came out, and you had Dash and Chirnu. That Fat Turrets, primary weapon turrets,
right? But what I'm saying is those are primary weapon turrets, and this was a discussion we got into. That for me, secondary turrets have never really like overpowered everything, but because most of them have come with some form of weakness
before TLTs.
Before they started coming out with TLTs and making these other ones.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Yeah, so the Ion, yes, it can really hamper you, but it only can ever do 1 point of damage, so it's not a real kill ship by itself. And the blaster turret always had that requirement for a focus.
It was never good.
Right, it was never really a great option other than, oh man, I just can't afford an Ion turret, sort of thing. But it was used back in the day versus never seeing the light of day anymore. But I always said it made more sense to me that turrets could be more powerful if you forced them to have something like a target lock, like the sync turret does. If you said, listen, as a secondary turret, you have to have a target lock or a focus, or it could be either. You must have a target lock or focus. They don't need to be spent. They just have to be on the ship in order to fire them. And that could be the differentiating factor. Okay, so you need a focus. You don't have to spend the focus to fire it. And then a totally separate turret could be you need a target lock, and you can only fire at the ship you're target locking. That would allow turrets to be what turrets should be, which is a very powerful device. And they shouldn't all just shoot to short range. They should be a long range sort of option. But then they all have this kind of stuck, setting where, that guy's taking the focus. So if I have any ship that can rip the focus away from him, he can't use his turret. He can't use that very powerful device. Or, hey, if I have a way of getting rid of a target lock, which they have cards in the game that lets you get rid of target lock that no one uses, those suddenly become more powerful again. But in order to balance that, you have to give the turret something in return for that. So that's where I'd say, oh, look, turrets could be stronger, or they could fire for the full range 1 to 3. They just need a balancing factor that could take it back out. But I'm a turret guy. I love turrets. So
right.
So I always have a different perspective on it. And now we're starting to see it. Like at least with the sync turret, you're starting to see that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go back and start using that as the retcon way of fixing some of these older cards.
Right.
Like with blaster turret, like we mentioned, needing a focus but not having to spend it. Or TLTs requiring a target lock.
If we want to go into the idea of fixing, should we go into unguided rockets? Because I said this was a fixed for the Bomber and Punisher. Not as ordnance, but as an ordnance way of using TIE bombers and Punishers. Which it's funny, like when people talked about this in the forums at first, a lot of people were like, "Because how about we just even talk about it?" So,
yeah,
Biff, tell me the specs about the Unguided Rockets card.
Certainly. So the Unguided Rockets, it's got 3 attack. It has the full envelope of range, so 1 to 3. It takes the 2 missile slots, so only certain ships are going to be able to upgrade with this weapon. It's a 2-point upgrade, and the card reads, 2 points. Right? Cheap for something like this. The card reads, attack focus, that's its header. You get to attack 1 ship. Your attack dice can be modified only by spending a focus token for its standard effect. So there is a lot of limitations placed on modifying this attack.
But one of the things that people didn't notice when they first read this is you do not discard this card after using it. It is unlimited ordnance.
Right. Well, here's something I'm not sure if anybody mentioned. I'm sure somebody did. The way this card reads, the dice can't be adjusted by anybody.
Right.
Which means a defensive player can't adjust the attack dice either.
Sensor jammers.
Yeah, so sensor jammer can't affect it. It's
jam
straight
Unguided Rockets.
Right. Yeah. You can't do anything with this. So you can't do any of your crazy options that are APTs or
no
any
slicing,
of the no pilot skills, no anything like that can adjust the dice, which to me is it's not a huge hit. I mean, it's not 4 dice, although 1 die doesn't make a huge difference in things, but it's still powerful at 3 dice, and nobody can adjust the dice except for a focus.
Right. So one thing is people online, besides missing the fact that it is unlimited, we were like, oh yeah, but why would you ever just want 3 attack die? Because everything already has 3 attack die anyways. And I'm like, it can only be used by ships with 2 missile slots. That is, this ship, the TIE Aggressor, the TIE Bomber, or the TIE Punisher. They are the only ships in the entire game with 2 missile slots. And right now, it is Imperial only. So it is Imperial only upgrade. And those all have 2 attack dice regular. So the whole argument of, oh, you're 3 attack dice, you're not. You only have 2. And then
but you're always at 3 attack dice at this point because you can fire it at range 1.
Yes, there was someone arguing that at range 1, it is almost always going to be inferior to firing your main weapons. And I'm kind of like, well, no. So it can't be modified. So there's no buffing. But to be honest, Imperials don't have a lot of buffing, between them all. So there's not really going to be a lot of passing of tokens like there are with Rebels. I mean, some, like Operation Specialist. There's a few things. But you can't modify target lock, but basically you've got either a target lock or focus, and they pretty much are about to be equivalent to each other, with very slight difference. So it doesn't quite matter in that regards. And if for whatever, and if you bump, you can't do a target lock, but most of the time it's going to be equivalent to firing your main guns, with a few occasions like Carner Jacks or something like that you can't use the focus.
Would it ever be better than your main guns at range 1?
Only if they have sensor jammers or something like that.
Yeah, only if sensor jammers. That's right.
And I have a question though, because people said if the Carner Jacks would stop you from firing this, but I just thought of something. So the TIE Interceptor Carner Jacks, let me pull it up. He prevents you from spending it, right? But you don't have to actually spend it.
Yeah,
Carner Jacks.
You wouldn't be able to modify your dice by spending the focus token, but you could shoot this.
Right, they cannot spend it, they cannot perform the action or spend it. So as long as you have the focus before he gets in range, you could still actually fire because you don't have to actually... Yeah, so Carner Jacks prevents you from either from doing the focus action or from spending your focus. But
you're not really doing either of those.
You have... If you have the focus outside of Carner Jack's range 1, like before he gets in close, you get the focus, and then he moves at range 1 of you, you can still fire these missiles. You just can't spend the focus to modify them.
But aren't you spending the focus to make the attack?
No.
You're not. Because
this is just like that turret. You just have to have the the focus
exactly
on the ship in order to fire it.
Oh man, wow, that's just not the plan. Because to me, then attack target lock, you're not expending the target lock to
look
fire
at the difference
missiles.
between proton torpedoes and homing missiles.
Yeah.
Proton torpedo says attack target lock, remove the target lock, make the attack. Homing missile says attack target lock, make the attack.
Right.
Okay.
So there's only a few cards that say don't spend the target lock.
Right.
It's basically an ion pulse missile, which people always forget that you actually still get to use the target lock. And homing missiles, you don't spend the target lock, but all other ones, it says remove whether it's focus or target lock.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So you don't have to spend the focus.
Yep.
I see this card as very a very good fix for, I don't know how to say fix, but a very good option, I should say, for the Imperial bombers, since they're the only ones that can really take it right now.
And TIE Punisher.
No, I'm saying all the bomber class stuff on the Imperial side. The thing I think is interesting, I mentioned earlier about choosing a facing. Like, do I want to fire forward? Do I want to fire rear with Punishers, for example? Because they have so many options, you get too expensive. This is only 2 points, so it's not an expensive option to just say, hey, I'm taking both my forward firing missile slots and putting them into this, and then making this a primary bomb.
Yeah.
With an option to fire forward with a pretty powerful attack. So this makes that kind of use every slot option not as expensive as it used to be. So
I think
it's there. I mean, I think it's never gonna put these Punishers on the prime tables at the meta, but we don't really care about that. We care about how.
We know.
I think it depends.
Maybe it will.
Mind map is mind map.
Yeah, we don't know what some of those crazy other cards do, but I don't think this specifically is going to put it out there.
Well, but also you could actually 5 scimitar bombers with unguided rockets and lightweight frame, which would boost their defensive dice for 100 points.
Yeah.
So these would be bombers that would never run out of ammo, 3 attack dice at any range, and they would be 3 evade die. If you've got
because
more
everybody
than 2
else
attack.
in the game is going to be rolling 3 dice. There's practically nothing that doesn't roll 3 dice in the competitive game, or in even most games at this point.
Yeah. So that could actually be a thing. And I do think that it helps things like the TIE Punisher a lot, because particularly one of the things that you say, oh, you're never going to use your ordnance, or oh, it died before it used the ordnance. This is so cheap. It's like 2 points, and you never have to take any other ordnance, if you don't want to.
Right.
Like, I don't think that it pretty much destroys any type of other ordnance for the Bomber and Punisher, because I think...
Yeah, they do different things. Like, this one is good sustained output of damage, but the other ones have, like, a good burst damage. That 4 dice with, like, a homing missile, where the other guy can't spend his evade token, and you get to spend your target lock on those dice.
With guidance chips, if you're able to.
Yeah, guidance chips doesn't work with this, because you can't.
Right.
You can only spend the focus token and modify for the normal effect. So no guidance chips.
Don't they have torpedo slots on bombers though? Oh, not on bombers. I guess they do have them on bombers too.
Not on the aggressor, but on the bombers and the Punisher.
Right. Yeah. So there'd still be room for if you want that kind of one hit hammer shot.
Yeah,
it's kind of expensive. It is expensive for one shot.
Yeah,
I think that bombers have had a hard time finding just one in your list, unless you take it as the shuttle. That bombers have had a difficult time finding that spot. But I think this pretty much will allow you to take one bomber, whether it's Tomic's Bren with crack shot, so you're crack shotting every round, on 3 dice. Or whether you're just got one guy out there who's getting the 3 attack dice. Because even if you just say take the bomber with this and no other upgrades, it's 18 points. That's nothing,
Super cheap, yeah.
I think it really brings like the single bomber into every game that possibly, and I think it brings the TIE Punisher into the game, particularly with like the other bomb sensor thing, like one generic TIE Punisher. With these things, gives it a hefty attack. It takes a lot of kills to kill, and possibly, even if you just left it at that, it could still be a pretty decent ship at that point. And then you could also add in bombs that you could maybe litter the field ahead of time. I think it does a lot to bring the TIE Punisher. Even though Jason says he's got TIE Punisher, Jason use them all the time at 100-point lists at the non-tournaments and has a lot of luck with them. But I think you will see these more, and I think potentially you could actually see the TIE Punisher come out. And of course, everyone's like, yeah, but the TIE Punisher that gives you 2 target locks is not going to want to use this. Well, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, you're right. Don't use them with this. But there's 3 other ones there. They'd be more than happy to take them.
Yeah, that's just the fallacy of people thinking they have to have a named pilot with a built-in pilot ability. That
right.
They're afraid to take generics, and a lot of times generics can win you games because of their cheapness and the ability to either fit more onto the ship or get another ship into the list.
Yeah, I think even on the TIE Aggressor itself, it's not bad. Someone was saying like, well, you can use it for your like ranged attacks with your target locks, but then or your focus. When you get in close, you could use like the sync turret to then put target locks on people, and that can do it. I on one hand, I kind of see that, but I think that it's almost contradictory to have the unguided rockets and the sync turret on the TIE Aggressor because you're wanting to do one or the other, if that makes sense.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah. But I do think if you can get the target lock on somebody, after that, if you've got the TIE Aggressor and that sync turret, you could then say, I don't know, barrel roll or do a focus or something like that to, keep that person in range or to have some other modification with the sync turret. So this is not a bad ship to actually have the sync turret on as well. I think it's kind of cool.
Cool.
Yeah, well, what else do we have with this particular ship?
We just have the intensity card, I think. So we have intensity exhausted, so that's going to be a dual card. It's small ship only. I think do they show a preview of intensity exhausted, or do we just read it?
We just read it.
Yeah, so it's at the end of the combat phase. You may spend 1 focus or evade token to flip this card, presumably to something that does something for you.
Right, so we don't know what it does.
Yeah. Turn this to another side that lets you spend a focus.
You
or
may
target.
spend 1
Spend
it's
it
just
back.
the same thing. You can flip the card.
They have to make it a dual card where you flip it, because if you have someone who's too intense, they're just going to flip the table on you.
That's right.
Right. They lose the game. They flip the table.
Okay, so we obviously don't know what it exactly does, but for you smart folk, it's an EPT at 2 points. So that means where in the power range is this fitting? What is it misplacing for its 2 points? Does that make sense?
Well,
what in the EPT range could you see it be roughly equivalent to?
Those
could
2 point
it be like a
EPTs,
3
they can
point?
fall anywhere. The effect that you're getting on that other side could be as good as push to limit, or better, possibly.
Yeah, we don't know what it does. It could be incredibly value on everybody, but we just don't know.
It's the other thing about those like EPTs. They kind of have like a big power range. There's like some stinker EPTs for 2 points, and there's some pretty good ones. Same thing for 3 point or even 4 point EPTs.
Or 1 point.
Right, but do you see this going up as high as the 3 or 4 point range, but because of this, you can only use it once every other turn, and only if you have was it a focus or target lock?
Yeah, I assume that it's going to be a pretty
powerful,
good ability for intensity fresh side.
I could see it being good on Poe, because Poe wants to keep his focus.
Yeah, because it's at the end of the combat phase. Yeah.
Yeah. Not good on Garvin Dreys because he gives his focus out. But then again, he doesn't have an EPT.
Are there any other cards out there that do a similar thing to where it's at the end of the combat phase, you spend something to do something?
Not BB-8. Poe's ability.
That was the one you were just talking about.
I mean, are you asking, is there other cards that require a flip like this? I know there's at least one.
Spend to flip. I mean, there's Gong kind of works like that. I don't know.
Well, there's the new the Seek, the blaster cannon thing. What is that?
Yeah, arc caster.
Oh yeah, the recharge of the arc caster. Yeah.
So this is the new thing. So if you count like, the flip cards and that intensity, and you add in the the blaster? What is it?
Arc caster.
Arc caster. That's it. That does it as well. So yeah, I think there's a new thing they're coming out with. Not a bad idea though.
Yeah, I wasn't chasing after the dual card. It was more the fact of, hey, at the end of combat phase, I'm going to spend some leftover tokens, if you will, retaining them, and seeing whether or not there were other cards out there that had that mechanic. Chapeau just wants to hold
he wants to hold on to that focus as long as he can.
Okay.
Yeah, I say just that this whole ship right here, for the upgrades and all, are pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. I like all the things going on. I like the ship. I think it's a cool idea. I think tournament players like it for the TLTs. I think it's got the rockets, which are really cool for some of my favorite ships. I love the idea of this TIE aggressor. I think it's really going to be fun just to put on the table. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think my only, besides the funniness of the design, I think my only sore spot is that there's no ships on. I guess are there any outside of the Imperials that have 2 missile slots that could load the rockets?
No, none.
Yeah, I'm a little sad about that fact. Like that we don't have the option at all to put them on there, especially on a ship that they just put turrets, the turret spot on this. Oh, look, we finally given you something you didn't have access to, and we're going to give you something that no one else has access to at the same time.
Well, yeah, but are you going to?
That's only fair.
This ship, though,
the Imperials, they get all the stuff.
I don't think this ship will actually use turrets and missiles too often.
You can use it more. Yeah.
I think you're going to use one or the other.
No, my point was that there was no ship that had that option to put a turret onto it on the Imperial side until this one, and then in the same packet they released something that only the Imperial side can use. So we filled the hole that y'all have, but we opened one for everybody else.
Yeah, but to be honest, I see the rockets is not being so much for the aggressor, but is being for the Punisher and Bomber. I mean, it could be used in this, and that's pretty cool. Because even just this thing with those rockets at 19 points is pretty nice.
Right, we have no idea what those elite pilots have.
True.
We have no clue what their abilities are. They might really take advantage of both of those things.
True.
Which would be true to form, right?
Right, yeah, it makes sense.
But to be honest, I think let's move away from the TIE Defender and from Palpatine and all the just stuff and Sinterfell that we're always used to. Now we've got like another ship that could potentially do stuff. So I don't know. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with
the rockets. Definitely move away from Palp since he can't do anything to it. Right?
Yeah, he can't do anything. Yeah.
So I'm okay with it being another Imperial thing. Then again, I'm an Imperial player, so
of course, yes, everything.
Imperials get more toys. I'm okay with that.
He's got that.
So I think this is going to be really fun. I'm more excited about this wave than I think anything else in a while. Well,
yeah,
the Seek and the Sea Rock being kind of combining with this, but I'm more excited about X-Wing, I think, now than ever before. I think the recent nerfs to the big cards, which doesn't affect us too much other than what bubbles down from tournament play. These new cards, the Sea Rocks and the Seek, I think like the power level is kind of middling out, with different things, and so I'm really excited about where the game is right now or where it's headed. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of an interesting place in the game's history, right? They're showing willingness to aggressively nerf things that they think are too powerful. Which creates headaches in terms of like keeping track of those things, but also could be beneficial to just making games more interesting. More Wookiees. It's always good.
More Wookiees.
You could have a Wookiee squad. You really have a Wookiee squad now. You could sort of do it before by putting gunners on like Chewbacca Falcons and stuff like that. Now you can have like a all Wookiees all the time team.
Yeah. When they put Ewoks in the game, that's when I'm gonna start to fear.
Yeah.
That's we know it's Jump the Shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the Ewok Death Glider.
That's right. Yeah. It's officially listed as an atmospheric craft, but as we all know, it's perfectly okay to put those in space.
Yeah. I think with the set that's coming, I'm usually looking at the new ships when they come out as in what kind of a scenario or something can I build around the particular ship, and having the Wookiee ship come in, I think is really cool from a standpoint of now you can have a storyline that's built around, the Wookiees, and I'm going to slaughter the name, but Kashyyyk, the planet, just you can have a lot of fun with that. And then as Jim was kind of mentioning earlier, when I saw the aggressor and understood it a little bit more, especially with the turret hanging out the back, I was exactly thinking about trying to do some kind of like Midway style battle with like the Dauntlesses and so forth. So I thought it was really kind of funny that you would bring that up during this podcast session, that whole airplane, because that's exactly the way I was headed with this guy.
Yeah. The funny thing is that the Wookiee ships do remind me so much of helicopters that they've got a real... I could see the Vietnam, like, hey, let's lay the table out like jungles and have these things. Dun, 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 dun.
Ride of the Valkyries.
That's right. Yeah. There's my team. Let's do this, guys.
If you look at the cockpits of the Wookiee gunship, that sort of frame design, they took that directly from Russian attack helicopters. I think
did they?
The Mi-24. It's it's the prototypical Russian attack helicopter from the Cold War era.
Yeah, that would make sense. I mean, it even has little feet, little landing struts.
Yeah, it's very, very reminiscent of that.
So what we need to do is set up a forest board, get all that 40K Warhammer stuff out and do a forest board and put out some Trandoshan slavers.
Exactly, yeah.
And some of these ships and fly around in the defensive. So
what?
Is that the proper pronunciation?
You have something in your throat.
So I was trying to be, say it in the proper fashion.
Say it in the Wookiee accent, yeah.
I want to hear Will do it. I want to hear Phil do that. I want to hear him pronounce it. He's got the Wookiee voice.
He's apparently our alien species voice expert. He's our Mon Calamari. He's got the Wookiee down. Yep. He did the astromech. Good.
Right. He's our non-human specialist.
Can we slip in a Wookiee into the backstory recording sessions? Can we do that? It's not too late.
I don't know. He wrote him.
He was brought up by Wookiees. That's so good. So I think that'd be pretty cool to do like a mission, and you don't have to have all Trandoshan slavers. Maybe have some, and then have some other scum ship, and have some sort of rules about like landing raiders, or something like that would be kind of neat. Or we can introduce the ground combat system. Dun dun dun.
Hey, it jumps into 40K.
But I think this wave is pretty exciting. I don't know. I like it. I think that the Wookiee ship is the one that least excites me, but I'm not saying it's a bad ship. It just doesn't. It doesn't, light my fire like the TIE Aggressor. But yeah.
So I guess we'll see these around late second quarter and probably early third, knowing how these things tend to go. So Gen Con might be the first time that we actually see these.
Yeah.
Might be the first time any of us actually get hands on these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to get in line. Get in line. Get your card. Reserve your spot. All be good.
Oh Lord, I'm looking forward to all that. I hate lines.
Yeah. So overall, we could probably finish this particular episode. We've gone long. I think it's great. I'm really excited by this wave. I know a lot of some of the people, even the casual people, the non-tournament people, were just kind of like, I'm kind of burnt out. And I think Scum and Villainy said, one of their guys is kind of burnt out on X-Wing. And I think moving away from tournaments and all, and just kind of new things like this, just seem really cool, really thematic, and I could just, like everyone was when they first like, oh, these things are terrible, they're dumb. I'm like, really? You don't want to put these on the table and just go flying around in Sunny Bounder and get one of those rolls, and just laugh your butt off, and I just see all this stupid stuff, and I want to fly it.
Yeah. If you're burnt out on X-Wing, play games that feel like Star Wars. That's my recommendation.
Right, yeah. Play games that feel like Star Wars or feel like Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Play completely different stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. Non-106. Just fly. You got some idea, you want to fly something stupid, just do that. Make something up around it, whether it's a particular list idea, B team, or even just I want to play 100 or 307 points or whatever it is. Just I want to play 20 asteroids on the table. Just go for it.
Yeah, play 120.
Yeah. Yep. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and I think round up this particular. Well, I should ask you guys, what is your favorite ship? So, like Biff, what's your favorite ship out of this wave? What one, pulls to you?
It's going to be the aggressor. Having the turret and with the unguided missiles. I think that's it's going to be a neat addition to the suite.
What was that one? Was it that one old movie with Goldie Hawn on the football team? Was it be aggressive, be aggressive? But you can now put tie aggressor, tie aggressor. All right. So with that, how about you, Phil? Which one?
Which ship is my favorite?
Yeah.
I think the Skurg is going to be my favorite from this bunch. I think it looks the coolest.
And that one, I think, is just what you can do with it is not known, is wide open. That's
also true. It's very, very flexible.
Yeah. All right, and just to wrap it up, J-Bot, what about you?
I'm going to go with the Ozatuck. If I had to choose, it's always going to be on the looks of these ships because I can't fly any of them worth of crap anyway. So I like it. I like the kind of helicopter-esque feel to it. So it's got some interesting cards that come with it too. So having a reinforce will be fun.
Yeah. I go for the tie aggressor. Tie aggressor. All right. So I know we're we might have gone over our hour recording time here. So
just a little.
All right.
Slightly.
With that, we can go ahead and end it. And as we're approaching, or actually we've been looping around.
Been a holding pattern over Endor.
Holding pattern.
So thanks everybody for listening in, tuning into another exciting issue of the Shuttle Tydirium. Hopefully, I know it's a little late at this point because it's come out 2 weeks after we record.
I might stick this ahead in the release schedule. I might bump it up one just to get it out before. It's still relevant timing wise.
Nice, yeah. All right, cool. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and talk to everybody next time. Send us an email, post on the Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you. All right, bye guys.
Bye.
See ya.